Hi, this is Val Vandervoort of Veritas Homes, and I am on my own today. It's a little late in the day, just amazing the number of Zoom phone calls that can happen in a day. I hope this is, I don't know. I feel like Facebook keeps changing things. Anyway, I was trying to we had this cool thing figured out where we were doing the calls via Zoom. And then I could share my screen, and I was all prepped to show you some pretty graphs, but that is, I guess, not going to happen. So you're just going to stare at me and my room for the entire duration. And I don't even have Liz here to share the screen with. So last week we discussed how things were finally starting to come on. This week there's even more that has come on. And I suppose that's probably, well, one, it's the spring market, but I think fueled a little bit by agents seeing that things that are coming on are actually selling. We actually had a listing that came on a little over a week ago during the shelter in place. Order went into effect we were uncertain as to how that would play out, but actually we received 4 offers on Monday, and it is selling a good amount above the list price. Of course, that home was vacant, and we were very careful in how we managed the showings of it. Of course, that is a big consideration as far as real estate transactions go during this shelter in place time. So San Carlos, as far as inventory numbers goes, has the biggest percentage jump in active single-family homes from any of the cities that we watch closely. A few cities were down just slightly. The county had about a 5% increase in active inventory. Compared to a year ago, San Carlos and Belmont are really quite similar to where they were a year ago. And the county is only about 5% less than it was a year ago. The one market that is markedly lower than it was a year ago is Menlo Park. So Menlo Park seems to be taking shelter in place really seriously. It was like a year ago, I think their active inventory was at 48 homes, and this year it's at like 27. So that is the only one that really had such a significant change. As far as kind of absorption goes, which is the bummer that I had some interesting graphs to show that showed kind of month supply of inventory. And I don't want to show you that's so old school now. But this week, San Carlos had 4 single family homes go pending. That is the most it has been since we've been sheltering in place. It was our broadcast on March 20th, which would have been our first week in sheltering in place, where that was the last time we also had 4. Last week it was 0 went pending. In the mid-peninsula cities that we track closely, 47 homes, these are always single family homes that I pull these numbers on to keep it consistent, listed in last week, and 21 went pending. That is a pretty serious clip of homes being absorbed. And then here was when I was going to show you my graphs. So essentially in that graph, it showed the inventory over the last year. In the city of San Carlos, it's at less than a month of inventory. In fact, it was showing it about a half a month of inventory. And the county is less than a month and a half's worth of inventory. So there's really, really tight inventory out there. That's no news, which is why they say this is actually going to be a very different scenario coming out of this than you can't compare it to 2008. There are just so many different dynamics from that time. One of them being our inventory is so tight. And I imagine when this shelter in place comes out of play, that just buyers are going to be chomping at the bit to get themselves settled into their next home. And possibly with the whole notion of before we might have another shelter in place, if there's a second wave of this, there is some talk that could be what our future looks like. And then I guess the other thing was the other 2 graphs I had was sale price over time. So San Carlos was, it's not enough data points probably to give us a lot of clarity. It was interesting for San Mateo County. It was essentially like May of a year ago, and then it came down, and then it was back up to, where's my finger, to April of this year. So I thought that was very interesting, and probably is a good indicator of, we had some decrease in values in the second half of last year, and then it's been working its way back up this year. I think only time will tell as give us the data as far as, okay, what did this blip look like? I did see a report um, about stats more so out of the South Bay, but essentially like as many buyers came off the market as sellers did. So relative demand is still the same. It's definitely interesting. I would say what we feel definitely jives with that actual data point. And then some news that came out since the last time we broadcast was that finally the IRS made, I believe it's the IRS, made a statement that, and I think it lacks a little bit of clarity, which seems like everything that comes out these days in the world of real estate start out a little bit vague and then they start to get some more clarity on. But back to the point is that 1031 exchange, the deadlines you have for identifying a property and closing a property is not as restrictive as it used to be. So I think that's it for this week. I hope that we get back to the situation that Facebook and Zoom can do this thing so that we can do the cool co-broadcast and also show you some screenshots at the same time. All right, have a great weekend. It feels like weekends are similar to weekdays these days, but definitely some things are at least a little different on the weekend. Time to get some chores done. All right, have a great weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.